Oh yeah, I wasn't talking. How do I pin this darn thing? Alright, well, this isn't working. Give me 1 second. So I want to do a live voting thing. But I can't get it to show up. Hello. Ah, here we go. Okay, so that is the link for like live voting, I think. Should work. No, I'm not really making a video. Unless I just like export this. But we'll see. Okay. I'll just go in order. I think I said this yesterday in the Discord, but this is like... Here, let me find the message actually. That didn't work. Okay, I guess I can't search for messages in streamer mode. That sucks. So this is not a difficulty tier list, this is just like a design slash fun kind of tier list. This is how well I think the fight is designed. Is it engaging? Is it... if it's like trying to be a certain type of fight, do I think it succeeds at doing that? Kind of like that kind of thing. Okay, so I'll just go in order. And then yeah, we have S, A plus A, B plus B, C plus C, D, F. No S plus, because I don't really think I would put anything there anyways. Okay, so Accursed Hunt is fine. I don't think it's particularly good. It's not particularly bad. I would tend to put it more towards good, but I don't think it's like anything notable. It's engaging-ish, mostly just because of Gary, which does kind of force you to be a bit reactive, which I do think is good. But I'm generally not a fan of body part targeting on like human-sized enemies. I feel like thematically it doesn't really make sense. I'd rather it be on like larger enemies like Oilin. I think on humans it's kind of, I don't know. Personally, I don't enjoy it that much. But the fight itself as a whole is just fine. I don't have much to say about it. Oh, actually, one thing I do like is I do like that Ias's sword hits are have minus 400 crit, so you can't crit. I do like that a lot. I think that takes out a lot of potentially really annoying RNG. So I would put this around like B to B+, I think. It's fine. Alright. Akraloth is definitely good. It's a pretty good fight. I think Scales and Fang are cool. I think Akraloth himself is also pretty cool. The fight has a pretty like big kind of epic feeling. I like the background and stuff as well. And I think it's a very appropriate difficulty as well. So yeah, not a difficulty tier list, but I do think I would take into account whether a fight's difficulty is like appropriate, if that makes sense. And I do think it's very it has very appropriate difficulty. And this is another thing, is that I really like bosses with reactive rotations. So Scales and Fang are both very reactive in that their buffs correspond, or well, Scales buffs and Fang's debuffs correspond to what you are doing. I think that's a really good way to engage the player more, to think about what they're having to do and to kind of create a strategy over a fight. So I would say, yeah, AA+, somewhere in there. Probably, I think we can put it in A+. Or actually, would I put it in A+? No, I think I would put it in A, just because I feel like Akraloth himself is not particularly interesting enough. Besides Scales and Order, he doesn't really have like kind of anything much, if that makes sense. Okay, Ancient Duo. This is, I mean, it's old, but I think for its release, which was early 2018, if I'm not mistaken, early 2019 actually, it's fine. I think that, actually, I think this is like actually one of the very first instances of reactive rotations, because we tend to think of reactive stuff as more recent, but actually Augahim is reactive. If you avoid turn 1, then he punches you, otherwise he uses the rock. So I think that's actually pretty cool. And then Ganadana is just debuff spam the boss. Nothing too much there. But for its time, you know, it was maybe kind of like the second or third truly difficult fight for its time, after Dominion and Dominion, right? Yeah, after Dominion and Failed Doom, although Failed Doom kind of, you can tell, wasn't really intended to be difficult. It was just absurd on release. Oh, and Primordial. So I guess, yeah, the third truly difficult fight, I would say, which is, I think, pretty appropriate. Oh, XREV. Oh yeah. So like fourth, I guess. And the fight itself, themed, is, fine. I think it gets B. B, but below Accursed Hunt, I think is pretty fair. Alright. Antechamber is like, it's whatever. Nothing much goes on in Antechamber. Bosses aren't particularly interesting. But it's suitable for first floor, I think, for Exhaustia. Kinda. So I would put this between C plus and C somewhere. I guess I do generally like the designs of the bosses, so I think I would probably just say C plus. Fail Doom was absurd on release because I don't remember actually. I just know that it was. I think you'd have to ask someone who, because that was kind of when I just started. Or maybe a little before that. You'd have to ask someone more well-versed in 2017, 2018 fights. Alright. Apex. Yay. Alright. Apex is obviously D or F. It sucks. It isn't really climactic. Besides the music, it doesn't have an interesting mini boss. It's like a super ununique mini boss. The engineer itself is just filled with RNG, and yeah, I think Apex would have been a lot better if it were just like one fight. I think it's called the Apex. It should just be the top of the tower. You shouldn't have to go through another climb. It should just be one fight, but it should be like an actual interesting fight. Engineer is not interesting. It's just RNG. The drones are annoying. Yeah, it's just bad. I think the only thing that saves it is like design, background, and music. Like those three are all pretty solid. So for that is a big D tier for sure. Okay, Archives. So I actually dislike Archives more than Apex. Maybe that's just because I generally lose on Archives more than Apex. But it's not fun. It's RNG. Arguably, like, even more so than Apex, I feel like. It just sucks all around. What's the Archives mini boss actually? Oh yeah, it's just a Garden Sentry. So mini boss is boring. The climb also sucks because guards are annoying. Yeah, Archives really bad. I don't like it. I think it's worse than Apex. I think the only thing that saves it is I think that Datail's design is really cool. I like his design a lot. The wings are really nice, obviously. But yeah, overall, I feel like it's an even worse experience than Apex, especially because you have to do it 10 times. Apex, you at least APX, you know, it sucks, but at least you only have to do it 3 times, right? So archives, D tier below Apex, for sure. Okay, balance we make. Not good. Also super RNG. Oh, I didn't mention this earlier, but like I do care about animations too. Like, is a fight actually visually interesting to look at and experience? And in Uanta's case, it's not. She has the same 2 animations over and over and over and over. Like, I guess her sword changes and her visuals change a little bit. But so that's not interesting. It's just absurdly RNG. There's like nothing. It's not reactive. It's not active. There's like it's just this. It's awful. It's just super random. You just have to hope that you don't get a bad combo. Natha is fine. I think she's actually pretty cool. Yeah, Earth Energy sucks. But I think for a fight that's supposed to be, you know, it's like 2 of the biggest characters in Malorus, which is, at least by scope, I know it's very polarizing, but by scope it's one of the biggest, or if not the biggest, no, it's one of the biggest side sagas within Book 3, along with Calamity and Void, or the Weaver Saga. So in that sense, I think it really fails at bringing that feeling of like, oh, it's the Malorus fight, you know? And so for that reason, I would put it in C. I think the only reason it doesn't go in D for me is because of Natha. If you forget to click, like, that's, I feel like that's not the fault of the fight. That's just your fault. Like, that's actually just skill issue, you know? So okay. Belfo Brothers. I don't remember what they do. So let's look. I don't remember this fight like at all. Okay. Oh, okay. This is, so he has like an alternating shield, and Magi just does a bunch of damage. Yeah, I have no strong opinions on this fight. I mean, it fits its theme. It's a trio. It's like sort of interesting, but not really. It's kind of too. How much health do they have? They have like no health, right? Yeah. There's just like not enough health to really be interesting. There's some kind of interesting mechanics, I guess, but it's nothing that we haven't seen before, or nothing that we have seen before applied in a new way. Yeah, I have no real thoughts on Belfo Brothers. I don't think it's bad. I don't think it's good. Solid C. Alright. Beginning and the end. So, also super early fight. It's not really, it's not really hard. The theming, okay, so I do enjoy the theming of the fight, the whole like beginning and the end thing. You have the first Magister, you have Royer, who brings the downfall of the Magisterium. So I think that's cool. Mislav is actually kind of interesting for his time. You have this spell combo mechanic. It is RNG, which is annoying. And his animations are nice. Royer is just nothing. There's nothing going on there. There's nothing interesting. Mana Storm sucks. It's just RNG, 20% or whatever. All he does is look like sort of cool and blow up. Not fun. I think there's a lot of wasted potential. I think you can keep the idea of Royer like blowing up and the instability, but actually make it sort of interesting. But it's kind of just not. But I guess for its time, it was okay. So I would just say C+. I don't really want to put it in B, so C+ is fine. All right, big and small. Again, I have no real thoughts on big and small. It's kind of like a Baleful Brothers situation. There's not much going on. Centog is funny and Dave is funny, like design-wise. But there's nothing really interesting. So yeah, C. Okay, Blades and Bones. I do like Blades and Bones. It's difficult. The difficulty kind of feels appropriate because you're literally just playing against the representation, like the enemy representations of pirate and ninja. I do like that Dusk is reactive. You can kind of choose how to go about, or like you can kind of choose how his rotation goes, depending on when you use your shield or your first shield to force him into his blur phase. So that's cool. I think the fight has an appropriate difficulty. I do think it's kind of like a super big wall for several classes. But I don't know if I would necessarily say that's a bad thing. Like, forcing bad matchups sometimes is fine, right? It's just part of the game. Design-wise, they're both cool. The theme is nice. I would definitely put this in between B+ and A. The only reason I'm considering B+ is because I don't feel like Duskbolt should have the same amount of HP as Keel. I know Keel has like more than this technically because he has Purge and heals, but I feel like Duskbolt should be more of like an 11.6k boss, if that makes sense. Because he just like looks like he should be squishier. He's a ninja, right? But overall, you just ignore it, yeah. Overall, I would say I'm not really sure whether I'd put it in B+ or A. But I just haven't, I don't know. I think I would say B+ because it doesn't, somehow it doesn't jump out to me, even though I do think it's a good fight. So I would probably say B+, but like high B+. Okay, Karnax. No one likes Karnax. This is an easy D. I don't think there's anything interesting that happens in this fight. Sure, the arms are difficult, but I'll bring this concept up again, but they're not difficult mechanically. They're just stat checkers. right? They have like 400 strength. They get a bunch of stats. They just stat check you. If your stats are too low, you die, right? There's like the reactive fire stuff. Like that's kind of the only saving grace of arms. And then Machinax like isn't even worth talking about. He does nothing. There's nothing interesting going on there. And then the head is again not really interesting. Like rotating shield, sure. What's it called? And like the psionic link stuff is fine, but and this is something else I'll bring up in the like probably time and time again, but I dislike it when a fight has mechanics that don't really how should I say, mechanics that don't really surface into anything actually meaningful, or especially if they don't actually alter a boss's rotation in any way. Yeah, and it's not new, right? It's like a 6-turn rotation, which is the most common thing with one super dangerous turn. So if you have a 6-turn shield, you're just chilling. If you have, even if you don't have a 6-turn shield, you can cover with scales and stuff, or a blind or something. It's just not fun. That's the thing I can say. I don't think it's fun, and I think because it's so long, because you have arms, because you have Machinax, I think you like design-wise, you don't want to sort of make the head really difficult, because that just feels bad. Because you have to get through 2 other fights, like 2 other long fights too. I guess the only thing, I don't know, what does save it from being an F? Is there another thing for Carnex on here? Okay, so I'll count Carnax and Carnex together, and so that would put it in F, I think, because Carnex is like, it just sucks. I think the only interesting thing about Carnax is like the support buttons, which is new. But yeah, I think the only thing interesting is the support buttons, which are cool, but they're not actually that impactful. And Carnex is just like, it just removes the only thing interesting. Okay, it is cinematic, I will give you that. It is pretty cinematic, so for that we'll put it back in D. All right, Cauldron Groupies, not really worth discussing. I guess it's unique for the time, sort of. Easy C tier. Challenger Gauntlet, is funny, and I like the music. I think the music is cool, but I'm not a fan of, you know, massive RNG shifting rotations that you can't really affect in any way. And the fact that you have to do it 5 times or 15 times is not good. So yeah, it's somewhere in here. I think also because you kind of want to do it early, which makes it even more annoying. So I say I would put it in F, I think. Okay, Chaos Slayers. Now we actually have something interesting. Chaos Slayers is... how should I say? It's fine, I guess. Not fine. I mean, it is a good fight. I think it's cool. The idea that like you're kind of the raid boss. I like that there's voice lines. You know, if Mystic goes down, he blames the party, which I think is very it's very apt. One thing though, which is the case for every chaos fight, is the aesthetic just sucks, right? It's just so much purple, it's so much green, and it's not an interesting purple either. It's a really dull purple, and it's a really ugly green as well. So that's one thing that I have against it. The music is nice. I think the designs in general are good. I really like Dragonlord's design. I think it's awesome that, you know, he like killed his dragon and tore apart its skeleton to make his helmet, to make his sword and his shield, or her shield rather. I also like purple. Purple's my favorite color, but this shade of purple just sucks, right? I think the difficulty is definitely very appropriate. Reward, obviously, also cool. I don't really have any real complaints with the fight. I think there's reactive stuff, there's active stuff. I will admit, like, I have some bias, but I'm trying to remove that, right? Because I did do this with Ranger and like other classes as well. So I would definitely put it in A or A plus. I do know that a lot of people like the fight, so I think that's kind of affecting me. But Oh, also, I should mention, I don't really play AQW. But I have heard like they're very good representations of the chaos classes or something. So I guess that gives it extra points, right? So I would say A plus. I don't think it deserves S. It doesn't impress me enough to be S, but A plus is definitely deserved, I think. Okay, Dragon Bond. I don't really remember anything about this fight either, besides that they enrage. I don't think I disliked it though. Let's see. I think it's one of the more okay fights on the Chaos board. Hello? Okay, so this is not interesting, so I should say that, I guess. And this is not particularly interesting either. I think what saves it is probably that they have like different, they get like different effects depending on which one you hit first, I guess. So that's kind of interesting. I don't really want to put it in D. I don't think it's like a D tier fight, but I would say just C. It's not really, there's nothing much going on. Okay, clashing. Clashing is cool. I give bonus points to Clashing because, as far as I can remember, it's like it's kind of the first instance of cutscenes, I think, because Lim has 2 cutscenes, and that's cool. I know some people don't like them, but I like it a lot. As far as the actual mechanics of the fight, there's definitely a lot of mechanics going on. So Lim has anti-gear swap, Cicero has anti-double turn. It's kind of, I mean, obviously they're not much, right? But I do kind of like, so I guess a bias in favor of the fight from me is that when I did it with Chaos Weaver, I wanted to gear swap, right? I wanted to force out Lim's gear swap punish because I wanted to push back his rotation by a turn. And you can do that on turn 7 if you gear swap every turn, and then you also double gear swap 1 turn specifically with E-Gambit. So that was cool. I think his rotation, his rotation isn't the most interesting. It's just like 3 debuffs and then 3 stronger debuffs and then Horizon. So that's kind of whatever. Cicero, no one likes damage reduction, right? It's not really interesting, and especially no one likes damage immunity. Like, it's just annoying, but it's fitting because Cicero's kind of supposed to be that, so I feel like I can't take points away for that fact. And then, you know, Duck is cool. The Shrink, I wish the Shrink manifested itself more and would change more, because as it stands, it's just kind of there to be funny. It does affect the claw, but that's kind of it. And there's also nothing you can do really about the Shrink, right? All you can do is kind of stack all res and play the 35%. So that's something I do dislike. I wish the Shrink was more interesting. But overall, I think it's fine. So I would go B or B plus. Maybe upper B tier somewhere. I'm not sure if I like it more than Accursed Hunt though, but somewhere up here. Okay, Conquest and Faith. So I really like both their designs. I think they're both very visually striking. Braitz is on like the chair. He's the false prophet or whatever he is, you know. Yala is also cool. I like her wings. I like her helmet and everything. But the fight itself is not super interesting, I would say. Yala's shield is kind of annoying. Her damage immunity phases are not super interesting either. It's kind of just annoying. They are skippable though, which is cool, but still. And then Braitz, like I mentioned with Karnak's arms, Braitz is just a stat checker. Like, he just does a shit ton of damage. You just have to kill him fast. It's a shame because I do really like their designs. I think the fight looks kind of cool. It feels like it would be a really cool fight just from looking at, like, a fast-paced, a cool fight. But it ends up being like a fast-paced, kind of annoying fight. And then yeah, Lightsworn is just like, what's the point, you know? So I don't think I would put it in D tier, but I would probably put it like C plus or C. Maybe I do think I would put it in C plus just because I do like the designs that much. Good morning. Okay, Covetous Fortune. So Covetous Fortune does get bias points because I'm Chinese. Simply because of that. I think the fight design is pretty... It's in a vacuum. It's pretty interesting. But I think there's a lot of things that hold it back from being actually good. So the first thing is the tree's RNG is annoying. Second thing is that like many other people, don't really like fights with big healing. I know I can't really say that because I killed it before the healing happens, but I'm trying not to look at every fight from like a Chaos Reaper perspective. I'm trying to look at them from a holistic perspective, right? So the heal is definitely annoying. If you're playing a slower class, there's nothing you can really do about it besides plus health if you have it. But I do like their designs. I think the arena is cool. I think the tree looks cool. The dragon looks cool. I do like the theming a lot. The luck theme, number 8, it does have, you know, a cultural meaning. So that's also stuff I like. But I would probably put it, I think, somewhere between B and C plus. Oh, I also like the don't get too greedy thing. I like that a lot. But the don't get too greedy thing isn't good necessarily because the buffs are RNG. So sometimes you really want to steal multiple in a row because they're all really good, but you get punished for doing that. But sometimes it's a lot easier because the buffs that you want to steal are spaced out, so you don't get punished. Yeah, it's mostly preference based. So I would probably put it somewhere around B, I think. Somewhere like here. Crystalline Stone, boring. Dance of the Stars. I like this fight a lot. Music is great. The solos have also great music. The theme of the fight is good as well. I think they're good representations of like classes, and they even get pots, you know. It doesn't really, the Crystalline Stone doesn't really deserve an elaboration. Like I don't know what to say about it. Yeah, I don't. It's not like It's not actively painful to go through, but it's just boring. The only reason it doesn't get D is because it's not like actively like, oh, I don't want to do this fight. It's just like it's kind of boring. Karnax is so long that it becomes like actively painful. Anyways, Dance of the Stars I do like a lot. It's definitely one of my favorite fights. It has sentimental value attached, which I'm sure some of you know about. So yeah, I think this would be our first S tier fight. It's definitely one of my favorite fights. I've always liked it. I am in a series simp, so that's another reason why I would put it up there. Devoured Horizons. Okay, Devoured Horizons also cool. I think there's a lot of cool stuff going on. Protoss specifically has some interesting mechanics. The Snake has interesting mechanics as well because, you know, you want to hit the Snake with Good, Evil, Fear, right? Because it takes more damage, but you also want to use Dark to kind of manage it. I mean, you can use your Dragon for that, but still. I think the blobs are cool. I mean, it's annoying to sit through. One thing I do wish is that they were faster. Like, I know you can't. I know we don't have the technology to make like 4 attacks happen like at the same time, but I do wish they had quicker animations, like half a second or something. Just like give the dots Frostmoglin Brick, you know. I do like the constrict mechanic. I think that's pretty cool. Kind of forcing you into using a stun, you know. I do like that it actually makes use of multis. That's one skill that you almost never get to press. So I like that, you know, you actually have to press your multi. I like the way that plus health interacts with Protoss. Yeah, very good aesthetics. I like the music too. It's definitely somewhere between A and A plus. Let's see. I think the difficulty is appropriate after it was tuned down. Of course. I'm not sure whether I put it in A or A plus though. I think because of Protean, I'll put it in A plus. I think Protean is a very cool item. Okay, Discordia. Again, kind of boring. I guess the DDR is kind of cool, but it runs into a fight that a lot of the Chaos fights have, which I think is that there's some interesting ideas, but they don't manifest themselves in any way because the boss is not actually threatening enough. But I think the design is cool. I think the music is nice. We'll go somewhere in C+. I think it's fair. C for Chaos, you know. Okay, Dominion. So, I actually remember way back in the day when I started, I really liked Dryad and Dogs / Moose's designs. I thought they were really cool, and I still do. I like their designs a lot. I think Dryad is cool. I kind of like the seasons idea. The dog is obviously kind of boring, you know, it's got like 2 attacks or whatever. But it is just a pet, so I think it's fine. Cthulhu sucks. I don't think that's much of a debate. I don't think anyone really likes Cthulhu. So while I do like Dryad and Dog a lot, I really don't like Cthulhu. And so I think that would take it from being like a B tier fight to like a C plus-ish. So yeah, C plus I think is fair. Alright. Okay, this is a very controversial one. Doomwood Duo. Why does dots have sentimental value? Oh, because that's kind of what started the whole like speedrunning stuff. I forget exactly how, but like Lucy, or I think Lucy did a dots video, and I was like, oh, that's a fight that I like and hasn't been updated, so I'll do it again, you know? I'll do it, but I also wanted to do it faster because she was making this whole big deal about how fast Death Knight or Wrath Dragonlord or whatever was, and I was like, I can't have that. And then that's kind of what got me into like playing the game a lot again, is rather just going for clears normally, is like trying to push myself or the game as far as it will go, which is fun. Anyways, Dominion is D. I would just have it somewhere in C++. I like Dryad and Dog a lot. Okay, so Duma Duo. Yeah, it's definitely not fun, right? I do like that we got the Wrath of the Paladin, or whatever the song is called, the remix. I think that's pretty cool. So there's that. I don't think Zorback is particularly interesting. I like the idea of shields. Not shields like DragonFable shields, but shields like every other game type of shields, where they absorb a specific amount of damage and then disperse once they absorb that damage. However, I don't like the way that Zorback implemented it just by giving him like 60 auras. I think it's weird. So Zorback, not particularly interesting. I do like, I know this is a hot take, but I do kind of like Artix's mechanics. Joy and Thrill, I think, are cool. They're manipulable. They actually manifest themselves in his rotation in certain ways with Spear, which is something that we don't see a lot. There's a lot of fights that have like a lot of mechanics and variables that never actually manifest themselves into the rotation. So I do like that that does something. But he's just too tanky. And like a Twilly is just so annoying. He's just so annoying. Yeah, I just hate Twilly so much. Like 300 health per turn is stupid. He already has 15,000 health. He already has like 6,000 health heals or whatever. I mean, I can skip the heals, and so can V2. But like the heals are there and they're annoying. It's just Twilly, man. Twilly is so bad. The only saving grace is that I think that Joy and Thrill are cool. Yeah, like I don't think it's a bad fight if Twilly didn't give Artix an extra 8,000 health, Oh, and to address the null is really annoying. Especially the fact that he has like 80 crit or whatever. Like he will crit the null hit. You will take 400 damage. I understand why it's there, because he would do no damage otherwise, but it still feels annoying. So yeah, I don't like the null. I understand its purpose, but it doesn't feel good. So yeah, D for Duma Duo. The only saving grace is that I think that Artix's mechanics are interesting. It's just that in the nature of the duo, it sucks. Dragonoid, I don't really remember much about. Okay, yeah, not very interesting. I guess it does I guess it is like the first instance of a boss with minions in the inn, right? Not that that's really a unique idea or anything. Yeah, I have nothing really to say about this besides the fact that I really, really, really hate. Okay, I don't hate. I don't like the rewards. I know that some people like it for fashion, like the Dragonoid saber and stuff, but I'm sorry, like I just don't think they're good. So yeah, C tier fight. Okay, Dream Duo. Kind of uninteresting. Sporka's just a stat checker. Well, I guess so is Meowfin, actually. I don't think it's like actively bad, and it is like a super early fight, right? Yeah, so I don't think I can put it that low. But again, C tier. It's not actively bad, especially not for its time, but it's just not good. Okay, here's another controversial one, Duty and Rebellion. So there are aspects of the fight that I do like. I like in Tame. I think his design is cool. I think his mechanics are pretty cool as well. I like early, middle, late flow. I think that's pretty interesting. I think, what else? Oh, the big thing is like I do like the idea of a fight getting the first turn. You know, we're always going around abusing all these bosses with our apparently infinite initiative, and this is like the first time that a boss actually gets to do the same to us. So that's cool. Unfortunately, they don't really actually do anything with that. But it is an interesting idea. And Tame is cool. By himself, I think he's actually really interesting. I guess I kind of disliked like the RNG in his rotation, but it's nothing egregious. He fits like the time theme. He does actually mess with the time. What else is there? Okay, Illumina, on the other hand, is pretty annoying. I don't hate her as much as most people do. I'm hesitant to say that because I will get cancelled. But especially after I revisited the fight, I didn't find as much issue with her as I originally did. The main issues that I have with her is that she's not very interesting. Again, she kind of only has two animations. She raises the shield and she shoots the shield. And then I guess she shoots the shield some more. Her rotation isn't interesting. It's just like shield, attack, 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 shield, attack, 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 blah, blah, blah. The only thing is that I feel like, I don't know if this is intentional or not, but her hit count punish feels less like a punish and more of like a, oh, you lost kind of thing. It's not interesting in that way. It's like if you press, unless you have death proof or like something, if you press something with more than, 4 hits, you just die, right? Like that's not cool. But I don't hate it. I'm sorry. I think Intame is cool. I think Illumina is not cool, but she's not terrible either. She definitely drags down the quality of the fight a lot. But I think like charge and stuff are interesting. So I would put it, again, I'm trying to think of it like more from the perspective of other classes in which Illumina does become a lot more annoying. I don't know if I want to put it in B tier though. I think I would. Okay, like let me look at Illumina, because she's the main thing that drags the fight down. Because it's like charge and berserk, right? And then berserk increases this. Okay, yeah. So this is the thing where it's like she scales heavily, but then she also like heals a lot, which is kind of annoying. So I would go C+ here. I wouldn't put it in D or like F where a lot of other people would, but I think it's somewhere in C+. Okay. Egg. I don't know. I know a lot of people have strong opinions about Egg, but I kind of don't. The main thing is just that like Unbound and Unwound are just annoying, I guess. And then it's unique, but the fight is, oh yeah, I forgot. Hard. I don't really know if I'm a fan of like a hard time limit. I think it goes on too long only because the animations are really long, and they're funny the first time, don't get me wrong. Like, I think they're funny the first time, but over the course of a 28 turn fight, it gets kind of annoying. But yeah, I don't know if I would. I don't like it. I don't dislike it either, so it would probably go somewhere in C+. Somewhere in here, I think. Okay, Ego. Ego's fine. I mean, there's definitely a lot of flaws with the fight, right? Notably that Val doesn't get any bonus, which kind of doesn't make sense for like a burst boss. I think he definitely punishes you for not having Immo, because he has like a 28 hit count Immo, or 28 hit count stun. I think the, what's it called? Val's Ego is kind of funny. I do like that. What else is there to talk about? I don't think Zan is interesting. Well, really, I don't think either of them are that interesting, but I think the theme of the fight is good. And I guess it does have some sentimental value for, I think, being like one of the first fights I ever did. Certainly one of the first duos, I think. But yeah, it's kind of just a damage race. Oops. But again, it is, it's a very early fight, so I would cut early fights a bit of slack. So I wouldn't put it in C where I put all the other nothing fights, but I don't think I could put it in B. I think we'll go C plus again. Okay, Elemental Chaos, definitely F. I hate this fight. There is literally nothing that happens. And there's no excuse for it either, because the story fights for these bosses came out before this fight, I think. Theano doesn't even work. Like, his shield actually just doesn't work. It's it's like a 2-turn exclusive BPD shield. Seofra has like his one animation. It just sucks. It's like, why am I you're just playing it and you're sitting there like, why am I doing this? So yeah. Emperor, wait, what happened? Okay, Emperor S tier. I think everyone knows I really like this fight. I think Sea Chicken is like the perfect kind of introductory fight. It has a suitable reward. It has good scale. It kind of it teaches the player the importance of a shield, and especially lining up shields. I think, yeah, I don't know. I like it a lot. I do think like it's a really, really good fight for just telling someone who wants to learn how to get into the inn, like, oh, do Sea Chicken, and they get a telegraph. They get, you know, they learn the importance of res also, because Sea Chicken actually does pretty respectable damage if you don't have res. This is critical appreciation. I don't really think it's a hot take. I think if you look at it by like what it's supposed to be, which is like an easy fight, then it does that very, very well. It enforces a lot of core mechanics that you will need later on. It teaches you to take advantage of damage windows, right? Because it has a free turn. It teaches you the importance of shielding, of clicking your status screen, clicking a boss's status screen, you know? So, yeah. This is the one thing that I care about most and that I will always stand by. Everything else on the tier list I can be convinced to move around, but Sea Chicken not really. This is, I think, probably my strongest opinion and the one that I will defend the most. On the other hand, I think Emperor Extreme sucks. It's an extreme fight that's not extreme. It's just a bunch of debuff spam. It's just a shorter rotation. It doesn't really introduce anything new. So Emperor Extreme is like D tier. I think it's pretty bad. Envy. I don't really have anything to say about Envy. Actually, I don't really know whether I'd put him in C tier or D tier. Like, he's meant to be a glass cannon, right? And he is a glass cannon. So like, I guess the idea of the fight is successful. Is that I feel like most people don't even realize that he actually has a mechanic. He just like does more damage with jealousy or something like that. I'm having a tough time deciding between D and C though. Hmm. Okay. So far my criteria for D has been like, oh, this fight is like painful, right? It's like I don't want to do this. And I don't think Envy falls into that category, so I think I'd put him in C. Okay. Oilin. Oilin is pretty interesting. Within the inn, I think he's one of the better examples of part targeting because there's actually kind of a reason to target the parts besides shoulders, I guess. I think that part targeting works a lot better on larger creatures. I think it makes a lot more sense. The reward is cool. The music is nice. The theme of the fight, I think, works well. But I think there is kind of some stuff that I don't enjoy, which is that he does kind of have like really huge damage swings, and I'm not really a fan of that. And then also, I don't know, I feel like the health bar stuff he has going on is kind of just wacky. I don't. It just feels. It doesn't feel good to like be hitting a boss and seeing the health bar stay at full. Like he's obviously taking damage, and it tells you, right? But somehow seeing that health bar that you've looked at the whole game just like not really move, I feel like it just doesn't feel good. But still, the fight has definitely a lot of stuff going for it. So I would say probably B. Somewhere in B. Higher B tier. Okay. Everlasting Night. I like this fight a lot. I think I mentioned this before, but I do like this fight a lot. I do understand that a lot of people can find it kind of boring because there's not actually many mechanics going on. In a sense, they are both. they are kind of both stat checkers. But I feel like, yeah, after the nerfs, I feel like it's fine. It's enjoyable. I really like the music a lot, actually. The music is one of my favorite tracks, definitely. I can kill her before the minus charisma, so I don't really care about that. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, she was really annoying on release, but I think now like it's kind of fine. But yeah, I do like this fight a lot. It's one of my more liked fights. I think after I revisited it, and I was like, yeah, Sephiria is kind of boring, I guess. But I would still go A tier. Oh yeah. That's. I do really like the fact that it deleted Epoch and Archivist plus 200 bonus. So it definitely gets points for that. Alright, Failed Doom. Failed Doom is not good. These are, it's two of the most iconic villains in DragonFable. The individual fights are bad. Together, it's bad. Caitiff RNG sucks. Sepulture's not really fun. Yes, Epoch's got 200 with Ultra Aim Boost, and Archivist got 200 with Ash. I don't. Yeah, what? I don't remember her double. What was her double turn? I know it existed. I just don't remember what it did. Oh, it was just an NPM shield. Dang. Alright, yeah. Anyways, Failed Doom sucks. I think Failed Doom is one fight that I actually think could be revisited if they ever did like in reimagines or something. I don't know. But it's Sepulchre and Cative. That's two of the most iconic villains in the whole game. I think it deserves something much, much better than what it got. Okay. Fallen Kingdom. I like Fallen Kingdom. I think it's a good fight. I don't like Altion that much. Again, I mentioned this with Accursed Hunt, but I don't like body targets on human-sized enemies. I just kind of feel like it doesn't really make sense. Korvac is cool though. You know, you get punished for not paying attention, which I think is always good. You should be punished for not paying attention. But Altion does drag down the fight a bit. I think there's not, there's no reason you would ever destroy body, right? And I think if you're going to introduce parts, there needs to be a reason, like an actual reason that different classes can justify of destroying every part. You can destroy head, you can destroy arms, but there is no reason that any class would ever destroy body, so that holds it back, I think. But overall, I think it's a pretty good fight. Yeah, I also do like that instability is abusable. I abused it to great effect. I also agree, yeah, the animations are kind of boring. But because I put Accursed Hunt in B, I will put Fallen Kingdom in B+, because Altion is the original Ias. Right? Ias is literally an Altion copy-paste. He has the same animations, he has the same mechanics. Yeah. Or actually, no. I'm going to put it in A because it gives Chaotic Blade of Swordhaven. And I love that weapon. So A tier. Okay. Fallen Purpose. This fight sucks. I don't like it. I especially don't like it because it deserves to be a lot better. Because it's Draco and Smud. Again, two of the most iconic, maybe not necessarily villains in Draco's case, but two of the most iconic characters in the game. That are stuck in a super long RNG fest, kind of boring. C-Boss is ugly. It is ugly, but like it's a super good weapon. Like I love using it. I think it's a really awesome weapon. So it gets points for that. Anyways, yeah, I don't know. I just don't like the fight. It's just not good. So yeah, it gets a D tier. I also think that Fallen Purpose should be revisited. I do know that it was changed a lot. I wasn't playing during this time. I was taking a break. It was changed a lot. It changed game mechanics itself. With the res stack changes. But it's Draco and Smud, man. It deserves something so much cooler than Fallen Purpose. Alright, first encounters. It's fine. I don't think it's really bad. I think there's some cool mechanics. I think there's some interesting stuff going on with the Togs, um, with Red Dragon's element effects. I dock some points because thematically it doesn't really make sense to have Rolith paired with the Red Dragon, especially since Beginnings seems to kind of want to care about that. So that definitely takes some points away. I do like the reward. Rolith's backup hammer is cool. I use that quite frequently. But yeah, overall, I would put it in like C+, I think. I'm not a huge fan, but I don't actively dislike it or anything. Or I don't think it's like an average or like a boring fight, you know. Okay, Fractured Self. Fractured Self has a lot of funny lore attached to it. Out of game lore, I should say. But Morgoth is a casino, so that kind of sucks. I think this is another case of a fight that's should really be better, you know? Like, this is a fight. There are some fights where you're like, okay, this fight is boring, but you know, it's two random enemies. This fight is Morgoth and Professor. These are like the two biggest characters of book 2, arguably. So it really deserves a better fight. So I definitely think it deserves much more than it gets. Basically, like half of Professor's mechanics have been removed over time, which is, you know, it just makes him kind of boring. He just kind of sits there and heals a lot. Morgoth is really RNG. I don't want to put it in D tier, but I wouldn't put it any higher than C tier, so it goes somewhere in C. Yes, I actually can just not elaborate. No, I mean, it's not actually much. It's just like, it's kind of the reason why no one really posts videos of fights on the subreddit anymore. Fralmar. I don't remember what this guy does. Alright, kind of boring. I guess the scales is sort of interesting, but yeah, it's just a super big boss. It's just fat. It has heals. No one likes super huge bosses that heal. It's a snooze. I don't remember how I did this, but it doesn't really do damage, right? 300, 300, 300, 500? Oh, it does actually do damage. I don't know. I'll put it in C tier. At least it's like sort of threatening-ish. And I think it's one of the first examples of like hit count scales, right? Where's Fromlar? Hello? Oh. Yeah, I mean, it's an early fight, so I can cut it some slack. C tier is fine. Gluttony. I think I would put Gluttony higher than Envy. He's more interesting. I really, really like the design, the black hole for his stomach, the fact that he's like skeletons, right? Like he's clearly like a skeleton, and yet he's still got the big model. So the design is really cool. I think Gluttony is actually one of my favorite C7 designs. The fight itself, I like the idea of eating buffs, having to feed him buffs, and the what is it? And oh yeah, and he punishes you, if you don't. So that's good. I need to check, is his MP damage RNG or not? 3 or 4. Okay, it's not RNG, so that's good. I think MP damage is, it's fine. As long as it's not RNG, I think MP damage is good. We could even maybe use some more examples of it. But yeah, Gluttony I would definitely put higher than Envy. I might actually even put him in B tier. Especially just because he's like one of the first examples he's one of the first 3 C7 boards, so his difficulty I feel like is pretty appropriate. The design is really good. I like Gluttony a lot. He is like fat, right? Like he has a lot of health, but I don't think it's the worst thing in the world because he doesn't actually have that much healing. There's clear counterplay. There's clear punish, so it's cool. Goose Dragon. I don't really like Goose Dragon. I don't think most people do. I also kind of don't remember what base Goose Dragon does. I guess the idea of the tools is pretty interesting. But there's like a shit ton going on, right? Like it's kind of annoying. At 30,000 health is also just annoying. And then there's it's also one of those things where the game tries to be like, oh, you want to choose strategically like which it gives the boss a bunch of different options with the different weapons, and in an ideal world all the options would be relatively equal, but like it's no, like one of those weapons is very clearly the worst one to let through. So I think I would dock points for that. Honestly, I really don't like Goose Dragon. And because it's on here by itself, if we're including Extreme and Chaos, I would just put it in D tier. Oh wait, no, Extreme is here. What does Extreme do? God, I did these so long ago, and I did them like once. I guess I like Goose X more than Goose Normal, I guess, because it's actually an example of an extreme fight introducing something new to the normal fight instead of just being the normal fight with more stats. But I still don't like it, so C tier. Alright, gotta start somewhere. Where's Lucy? She needs to be here for this one. I don't like it. I'm sorry, but I just don't like it. Most people don't like it. The main reason I don't like it is because it's really, really visually uninteresting. There is nothing interesting going on. I would like it a lot more if there were better animations, but there's just not. Once you break Royal Right, you just sit there. You literally just sit there for like 18 seconds while all Drakhat does is wail on you instead of doing anything interesting. Same with Ashe. All their attacks are just repeated slashes. It's so boring. It's just not fun to like look at on your screen. I don't think their actual mechanics are that bad. Like it, I don't know. And also RNG, Drakhat does have RNG, like it's like 100 bonus or 100 boosts. Like very clearly one of those is way worse than the other, right? They're not equal in terms of RNG. Ashe is annoying. Like I don't really like bosses that heal a lot. Drakhat screws over colorblind people. Not really, but it takes, if you're colorblind, it'll take a lot longer to learn Drakhat without the use of the wiki. But yeah, I just don't like it. And also the background is just not good, you know? So yeah, I think it goes in D tier. Drakhat just isn't. He doesn't really do anything. He hits you more the longer you let him stay in Royal Right. That's like about it. But he doesn't get like a cool attack if you let him stay in Royal Right. He literally just gets in more and more slashes. I just don't like it. I don't really care if like it's an easy fight because you can turn Drakhat off. I think that actually goes against it because I don't think you should just be able to turn a boss off. Like I don't think that's good fight design. You can literally just flick the off switch on Drakhat. Like what? Like what's the point of the fight then? You know? And yeah, as I mentioned, super visually boring. So there you go. Greed, I think, goes in C tier with Envy. He's sort of interesting with the buff steal. It does fit like the greed theme, but I don't know. The design is also not really good. Alright. Hyper Hydra. I don't know. I don't really like Hyper Hydra that much. It's pretty nothing, you know. Like sure it fits the Hydra theme, right? If you kill one head, it gets revived, but that's like it's very easy to do that. So I think we can just put this in C tier and move on. It doesn't need to really be explained. Okay, Iadoa. Again, this is another thing that I mentioned earlier that I think a lot of the Chaos fights suffer from, which is that he has some interesting idea. Oh, it is. All right, sure. We'll do that. After you, though. Well, I'll do it after you guys. I'll play it actually. It's a thing with a lot of the chaos fights, like I mentioned, where there's some interesting ideas and interesting mechanics, but they don't really manifest themselves in the way that you want them to, because the actual boss is not threatening enough for that to happen. No, I think because of that, I would bring him down from like a B to like a C plus. I think right next to Discordia. I don't think that's biased. I think a lot of people. Oh, I mean, if you're biased, yeah. I mean, I do think the mechanics are pretty interesting. It's just that they're not really needed to be interacted with that much. Okay, I'll do the war here, and then we'll just take this out. Oh wait, so they're just... It's just a dude. I don't have Lucky Hammer, really. No. Oh, it does no damage. Okay. Yes. I mean, makes sense. Why did it sound like a door? Oh shit. Okay. Wait, do I care about this? No! Wait, I just realized. No. No, it's a Death Knight weapon. What the heck? I got set up. I've been set up. It's a Death Knave weapon. I can't believe it. Why is that a minus 25 luck though? Yeah, I actually don't think Death Knight even needs it though. You have so much bonus. And Tali also has a lot of bonus. I guess I'll upgrade it. I'm sure you could have. Wait, where am I going? Might as well upgrade it all the way. Yeah, Destiny Doom weapons suck though. So it actually is neat tech. Does it matter though? Not really. I don't think I can use it for anything, unfortunately. Anyways, back to tier list. Someone pinged me. Oh wait, what's Destiny bonus? Is it 12? Oh yeah, it only has 12 bonus. So actually if you really need bonus, then he should know though. What about Ensod? Oh, Ensod only has 10 bonus. What about Relic Death Knight? Okay, I mean, so technically it's still actually worse than it's worse than Author. Just because Author has, or Author you can pair with Botgo, which is 15 bonus, but Destiny, Doom, and Relic DK only have 12 bonus. Yeah, so technically it's still worse. Anyways, Ice and Dragons. I really don't like this fight. I'm not a fan of super huge RNG within fights. I think the fact that it doesn't even get a background when it really should get a good background is also super annoying. Also, I've always hated that Cryozen's design is so bad. Like, Cryozen is a great dragon. It's just ugly. I don't know why. I would maybe even go as far as to put this in D tier. I just personally, I really don't like this fight. Also because it encourages Cthulhu usage. Yeah, I guess the other three are designed well, but Frostlight just makes the fight so painful. Okay, no. I'll put it at the bottom of C tier, I guess. Or like up here or something. I don't know. Okay. IE. Alright. Everyone, not everyone, most people like IE. What don't I, the main thing I don't like about IE, or the two main things I don't like about IE is that, one, I really wish it had unique music. I think especially for when it was released, it was like the fight, you know? IE was like the fight, but I always thought it was a bit strange that it got recycled music, so I think it deserved something more unique in that sense. But like thematically, obviously it's incredible, it feels epic, animations are great, it's beautiful, so that's all good. Reward is obviously cool too. The dragons look incredible, and for like deep lore enthusiasts it's also cool. I don't like the RNG rotations. I think that is really a thing that kind of holds the fight back, is not necessarily the existence of the RNG rotations, but just kind of the imbalance of them, where for a lot of classes like one is very clearly worse. I don't think I mind Hitir as much as most people do. I think it makes sense thematically why Hitir is like that. But yeah, I mean, yeah, like that. I know a lot of people would put it in like A+ or S, but honestly, I think I would have too when it came out. But after 3 years, I think I would have to just say A. Top of A, I think, is fair. Okay. In Wonderland, I don't have much to say about. I don't think it's particularly interesting. The reward is nice, I guess. Thematically, thematically it's pretty interesting. I like the Alice in Wonderland kind of theme of it. And the bubbles are kind of cool, so. But it's just not interesting enough to go any higher than like C+, I think. Okay. Genia X. Let's see. Okay, obviously her design is freaking awesome. It's insane design. I like the cutscene. I think it's really cool. Limit Break Ice Age type shit. I think her attacks are all cool as well. The usage of the gear fitting with Hesperoda's design. I can only hope that our full sync will be anywhere near as strong, you know? Okay. But I think, let's see, what don't I like about this fight? So one thing I don't like is the fact that Effect 3 exists. I really dislike the existence of Effect 3. Because it's just, like, obviously the purpose of Effect is that, like, it kind of wants to encourage you to get hit by Jania's debuffs. But Effect 3 is just so bad. I just hate it. You have 3 turns for 4 statuses. So that's annoying. But everything else is great. I think not much reason to break Glaive. Yeah. I'm pretty sure I'm like the only person who's ever broken Glaive. Again, you know, I'm not a huge fan. Like I've said before, I'm not a huge fan of part targeting on human-sized enemies. I think in Jania's case, it's less egregious than Altion or Ayas though, just cause like they are literally like extra parts of her body, so that kind of makes sense. But again, this does run into the, you know, why would you ever break this part moment? Like, why would I ever break Glaive when I have to go through 10 extra all res and 40 MPM to do so, you know? I say that as the only person who's ever broken Glaive because I need to, but there's definitely like an imbalance between the Tomb and the Glaive, so that kind of hurts it. Oh, the music is good, obviously. But I don't know, somehow I don't feel like S for it. Somehow I feel like top of A+. I can't really articulate why, but to me it's not like an oh my god, like this is one of the greatest, you know. I mean it is, but not personally, not to that extent, partly because of the things that I mentioned earlier. Effect 3's existence, needing you to tank what's it called? It kind of needing you to tank either the Minusol or the dot, or possibly even both. Especially attack effect 3 is just so bad, because then you lose. Now you have 2 turns for 4 effects. Anyways, yeah. Jack Crescent. I for some reason I actually remember this fight. I mean, it's whatever. I don't hate it. I don't think it deserves D tier, but it's C tier. C chicken in S tier, but yeah, honestly, C chicken clears Jania. I'll put it up here actually. And I'll also bring this down to B+. Okay. I don't know. I just I feel like I can't justify putting it in S personally. I know that's probably controversial, but it's the truth. Yeah, and like I have her in A+, so I think it's fair. Anyways, Kerfluffle. I don't remember what either of these guys do, really. But I'm pretty sure it's super boring, right? Yeah, I think just because of Guffer, literally just because of Guffer, I'm gonna put it in D. Guffer sucks. I think, yeah, I agree. I would mechanically put Genia somewhere in A or in the lower end of A+, but visually it's incredible, right? The music is great, the arena is great. I do kind of wish the arena changed as the fight progressed. Oh, one thing I didn't mention is that I do like the ground runes a lot. I think the ground runes are cool. But I think the imbalance, it's just the imbalance between something like Attack Effect 3 and like Halt Solitude 5 is just so insane that in itself kind of holds it back from S tier, in my opinion. Cass, again, this is another chaos issue where she has interesting mechanics, and the arena changing is cool, but she's just not threatening. So it becomes kind of boring in a sense. I don't know if other people feel that way, but I feel like I did, where I was like, this is all cool and all, but I don't feel compelled in a way by it. I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah. Interesting mechanics, but not threatening. That's the story of a lot of chaos bosses, in my opinion. But she is she's like the true puzzle boss, which is, you know, cool, I guess, but it's just boring, I think. So I would put her somewhere in C tier. I'm not really sure, but I would put her in C. I think the thing that's saving her from D is like the changing backgrounds and like the idea of the fight is something that I enjoy, but actually playing the fight is not fun. Okay, Kitsune is the other type of chaos fight. So you have chaos type fight type 1, which is cool ideas, poor execution, and chaos fight type 2, which is stat checker. So Kitsune is just a stat checker. I think it's one of the best redesigns in terms of art. I really like his design. Much better than it was in AQW for sure. But I think the fight itself is like not super interesting. I would put him somewhere in B, C+, probably upper C+, somewhere up here. Let me take a quick look though, because it's been a while. I guess five phases is pretty annoying. So yeah, I think C plus is fine. I do like this though. I like the forms a lot. Again, like I said, I think the design is good. Definitely one of my favorite chaos designs, but I think C plus is fine. I don't find him boring enough to be C tier, but I don't find him good enough to be B tier. Ledgermain is the other, is I think my other favorite redesign. So visually, I like him a lot. Unfortunately, the fight itself isn't super interesting. I don't think I need to say more than that. So this also goes just somewhere in C plus, along with the rest of the chaos solos. Okay. Life and Death. So yeah, Kitsune is just a stat checker, and I don't like stat checkers, especially in a game like DragonFable, where you kind of have to introduce like mechanics and stuff. Life and Death, right? So okay, Life and Death isn't as bad as it used to be, definitely, with the removal of direct hit, but there's a couple things that I don't like about it. So first of all, yeah, I agree, Karo. It's just a stat check, and I don't like stat checks. But anyways, for Life and Death, I think it fails at being life and death. You know, I think Aya is an okay-ish representation of life, but the Reaver just looks like, besides doing darkness damage and being a Reaper, I don't think it succeeds at the life and death theme. I think that I like Aya a lot more than I like Reaver. So my issues with Reaver, one of them is, again, I mentioned RNG in rotations, but what I specifically don't like is RNG rotation extensions, in the sense that Reaver has a 50% chance to have a 5-turn rotation and a 50% chance to have a 4-turn rotation. So that's something that I dislike when it comes to fights. And then Aya's mechanics I enjoy. I like the falling asleep and the waking up with a nuke if you wake her up. But I don't know. I don't think that Reaver's mechanics are particularly interesting. All he has is the purge, and he has the having your darkness res, which is like kind of whatever, you know. I don't dislike the fight anymore, but I don't particularly like it. So I think I would probably go with like a C plus here. I don't want to be like I don't want to be like influenced by, like, I know you guys like it, but personally it's just okay. I think it is old, I guess, so I can give it a pass, but I don't know. I don't like it that much. Lion Fang is kind of also a stat checker. His DDR isn't interesting. He just kills you. His mechanics, if you can call them that, aren't particularly interesting either. Like, stacking null dot is not interesting. It's just annoying, right? What else? I mean, I kind of like the thematic sense of like he really believes he's good, I guess. So that is kind of coolish, but it's easy to meme on him. Um, the survive phase, I do agree, is cool conceptually, but it just sucks having to play through. It's not fun. It's not like an, oh, like this is exciting, I'm trying to survive. It's like a just die already kind of survive phase, if that makes sense. But I would put him in C. I don't dislike him enough to put him in D, but C I think is fine. Definitely below Cassandra personally. Lust is so I like Lust thematically. I like the simps. I think that's really funny. The fact that like she seduces them and like makes them stronger is cool. I think that's cool. Design wise, I like the design. Yeah, overall, pretty solid. I don't really understand the point of the reflect. I don't really like that. And then I also kind of dislike that I wouldn't agree with low C. I would probably say C+. I don't like her as much as Gluttony. I don't think she's as pointless as Envy or Greed. So I would say C+. There's some stuff of hers that I like, some stuff that I don't like. Generally, though, I do think the design and her mechanics with her simps kind of brings it up. Alright, Mage and Serpent. This is... I almost want to put it in F. So, okay, first of all, I'm very biased against Mage and Serpent. Because Verley said it was meant to be an introductory fight, when Sea Chicken is literally right there, and it also really, really fails at being an introductory fight, in my opinion. Like, the difficulty is, it's just not appropriate for being supposedly the, oh, you're from AQW, you know, this fight is a good introduction to the inn. Like, no, it's just not. It's so just not. Yeah, in a vacuum, it's not that bad. But I mentioned at the start of the stream that I also kind of judge fights based on how well they achieve their goal. And Mage and Serpent does not achieve its goal. It's such an antithesis to like what it wants to be that I really can't go higher than D. I feel like, even though I feel like Asharian and the staff have like interesting mechanics. I feel like the design of this serpent or the Hydra is actually cool. I like the eye in its mouth. I think that's very visually striking. Besides, you know, being a Hydra without multiple heads is weird. Is it a Hydra actually? I don't remember if it's supposed to be a Hydra. But anyways, I can't justify putting it higher than D because of what it's supposed to be and then what it versus what it actually is. But I will relent. I won't put it in F. I will just put it in D. like here. All right, Masters of Wind. Masters of Wind. I will admit I definitely have a warped perception of Masters of Wind. This is one of most fights I do with a couple different classes. Masters of Wind I did not do. I only did with Chaos Weaver, and I also understand that Chaos Weaver has like a much simpler matchup into it than most other classes do. The design of the fight, I think, is confusing to say the least. Like thematically, Displaced Fates doesn't really make sense. There's no real indication in story that Greg is like a wind kind of cricket. I don't really remember that. I feel like Phaeton should have just been saved for like Phaeton and what's his face? The pirate. I forget his name. Whitebeard or whatever. I don't know. I mean, I know we have what's it called? I know we have Blades and Bones, but like Phaeton is very different, very, very different from Dust Bowl, right? So I feel like you could just do like a Phaeton and the pirate trainer. Yeah, Rhubarb. Phaeton and Rhubarb, Displaced Fates. I feel like that would be pretty cool, right? But I don't hate Greg's design, or not. Well, his design is like boring, but I don't hate Greg's mechanics or that stuff by itself. I think it just doesn't really fit in the fight. I think Masters of Wind, for being in Displaced Fates 2, had a lot more potential to be like more interesting. But I think Phaeton's design is cool. Eastwind versus Westwind is interesting-ish. I do say I have a hard time reading this though, because I never experienced this with a different class. So I think B, C+, is pretty fair. I think I'll put it in B. Greg has the needle sword because it's a Hollow Knight reference, because he's like an insect and Hollow Knight is insects and they have the needle, or I think it's a Hollow Knight reference anyways. And I actually like, I think it's funny. I think it's a pretty cool reference. Alright, mirrors. I honestly have no idea what the mirrors do. I do not remember them at all. Kind of boring. Yeah, I don't think this is an interesting fight. I think an unavoidable 3-turn cooldown increase is not fun. Like that is like actively painful. But I guess they succeed at sort of being mirrors of each other, so that saves it from being F. But I think D is fine. So yeah, we'll put her next to Asharian. Okay, Myths of Aspenvale. This is another really polarizing one. Personally, I don't really like it. Like a 600 MPM wind shield is annoying. The Tog is annoying. I wouldn't put it in D, I think, but I think I would put it in C. Somewhere around like here, I guess. All right, NA. I like NA a lot. Yeah, I agree. I think it's a bit overrated. So NA, I think I would probably put in either A or A+. I like the theme of the fight. I really like the idea of like Achilles and Patroclus being like a Doom Spirit and a Doom Knight. I think that's a really interesting take on it, on the myth. I like reactive, I mentioned this earlier, I like reactive rotations, mechanics, such as Achilles has. I like that there's kind of like an option between which to take out first depending on your class. I think that's always good, introducing options for the player. And yeah, I think the background is cool, the music is good, their designs are cool, especially Patroclus. Patroclus is super like visually striking. I like Patroclus design a lot. Charnel is obviously a really good Doom Knight custom, or arguably the only good Doom Knight custom. So yeah, I would put in A+, probably above Devoured Horizons, maybe even above Chaos Layers. I would put it in A+. Alright, Passion and Peace. So, Passion and Peace is fine. I think it's a good fight. It's definitely like easy, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. There's cool stuff going on. I think J6 is a really good use of TK's assets, which is good because most players will never see TK's assets. And then Twang, I kind of dislike Twang a bit, but not too much. Defensive stance is annoying, but it's supposed to be annoying, so that's fine. Yeah, I definitely think I would probably put this in the low end of B+, I think. I quite enjoy it. Alright, Pandora is... I mean... The issue with Pandora normal, in my opinion, is that there's nothing stopping you from just killing her instantly, basically. I mean, to a certain extent that's true for Pandora Extreme, but a little less so. That's only true for Doom Knight, I guess. Her design, separate... I'll try to think of it separately from Pandora Extreme. Like, as a fight that you have to farm, as a culmination of the Corrupted 7, I think she should be more difficult, slightly. I think this is true for both Pandora and Pandora Extreme, but the spirits kind of don't feel equal in a way, and they don't have to be, but there's a really big difference obviously between Sloth and, you know, Envy, right? But I think the arena is cool. I think her animations are fine. I think the fight itself is pretty good. And her design is good as well. But I would probably just put her in like C+ or B. I don't think she has enough threat, in a sense of the word, to as a culmination of the Corrupted 7, to go higher than C+, maybe. Alright, Pandora Extreme, I know a lot of people like. I like it a lot too. But I have a hard time ranking it, I feel like. Definitely very difficult, right? And like inversion and reversion are cool. Mechanics, much less abusable now than they used to be. But again, it kind of runs into the issue of like some of the spirits you just don't need to care about. And then sloth exists, right? So while I do like the fight a lot, and obviously I like Pandora's Scythe a lot, I don't think I would put it any higher than like the low end of A. Maybe above Everlasting Night though. I don't know. For some reason I have a hard time ranking it, but I think it's a pretty fair one. Alright, Pride. So I like Pride's design a lot. The peacock thing is really cool. It fits her. I like the fact that she has the scar mask on because it's so fitting of Pride to like portray herself as a god, you know. And the tentacles are also cool. She has a really nice design, but obviously the fight itself is really annoying. It's just too RNG. I think thematically it kind of makes sense because it's like she's so prideful that she doesn't see you as a threat. And when she doesn't see you as a threat, that's when you can actually damage her. So I think that is fine. I think I would raise it just because I really like her visuals. I think along with Gluttony and Sloth, those three are definitely my favorite Corrupted 7 designs. So I think that saves her from being D for me. So I would put her into C, but for a different reason than Envy and Greed. Envy and Greed are boring. Pride just has way too much RNG. Alright, Primordials. I think Primordials is... I think I and a lot of other people kind of think of Primordials and Dominion in the same breath. They're both two of the first like truly difficult fights for their time. They both give 5-all ring, 5-all necklace. I think I like Primordials more than Dominion because it doesn't have anything as egregious as Cthulhu. Like, yes, no skills sucks, but it's not as bad as Cthulhu's entire existence, I think. So I would keep it in C+, but higher than Primordials. Or not higher than Dominion, something like that. I don't know. The ordering within the tiers is not like 100% accurate. Yeah, I'm just like kind of putting stuff wherever I feel like putting it. All right, Reliquary. Reliquary is fine. It's I don't think I would put it in B, but I think C+ is okay for Reliquary. Warden definitely has the most striking design, I think, and the sound effects are cool. I do think I like it more than Antechamber, but I don't think I like it enough to put it in B. Okay, R&R, another very polarizing one. So thematically, again, I think it fails thematically. Tomix is one of the most iconic characters in DragonFable. Pairing him with Draconin without a unique background, it just doesn't feel right. So that definitely takes points away. It's a hard damage race with arguably like a hard limit. So that kind of sucks. Draconin is not particularly interesting. The superheated stuff is like fine, I guess. Soul Barrier is annoying. We could have had, imagine if we had Tomix and Danielle / Balteo, right? Tomix and Pandora, Danielle, Balteo, in Adelia or something. Something like that I think could have been a lot cooler than Tomix and Draconin. I just don't feel like it makes sense as a fight. And it's not... Draconin isn't interesting enough. Tomix is threatening, but also not interesting enough. I just have a hard time putting it higher than like C or C+. I think after the nerfs and stuff, I think C+ is fine, but it's one of the most disappointing fights, in my opinion, for what it should be. Alright, Senescence is like an easy D or F. The only reason I put it in D is because it succeeds at being Senescence the Undying, but it's not fun. Alright, Sloth. Again, Sloth is one of my favorite C7 designs. I really like the entangled legs, as well as the fact that they are conjoined twins. It's like, that's kind of perfect for Sloth because one of them is always asleep. Like, that's a very good representation of Sloth, I think. It's a unique representation of Sloth, and it's really good in my opinion. As far as the fight itself goes, I don't really like the RNG between rocks and the vines, or the stun. So you don't really, like, you can't adequately prepare. You just kind of have to put on your immo res, I guess. Especially because if you're doing this like with pre-in gear, it's kind of rough. But the waking up is cool. I mean, in general, I'm not a huge fan of like big single hit non-auto crits, because if you do get crit versus if you don't get crit is a huge damage swing. I think I'd prefer it if it was just an auto crit, but it did, like less damage. But I think it goes in C+, purely for design. Lower than Lust, because the fight it's definitely a slog. But if it's Sloth's theme, the design is good. So, yeah. Spiral is not really notable in any way. I guess the Schism Room is like kind of interesting, but I don't know. Solidly C tier, I think. It's whatever. Alright, Swan Song and SX. So, music is really good. Definitely one of my favorite tracks, for sure. The background is awesome, very visually striking. The black and white, the kind of slow animation, really cool. Really, it's really visually interesting. As far as the fight itself, it's good. It's definitely good. It's punishing. I have a hard time saying that Suki is good, because I feel like she's just kind of annoying. She's super tanky. She has a lot of debuffs. She heals a lot, but it's not necessarily a bad thing. And it's also a unique fight in that you want to phase one boss, and then kill the other, and then kill the second boss, right? Or the first boss, I guess. So that's cool. I think Darkon is really cool, especially from what I've heard from how his mechanics are translated over from AQW. I don't play AQW, but I've heard that like it's actually a really good translation. So I think that's cool. But I would probably just put it somewhere in A tier, like up here, I think. SX unfortunately doesn't go as high as Swan Song for me. Because I mentioned this before, but I don't really like when an extreme fight is the fight but harder. Like, I know that I know that sounds kind of stupid, because obviously an extreme fight is going to be the fight but harder, but I feel like it doesn't introduce anything new. Like, Suki is literally the exact same. Nothing has changed with Suki besides the claw. I don't think that's interesting. Darkon also doesn't get anything besides a different phase 2 and a phase 3 nuke. So that's another thing. It's not like an interesting exploration on like an extreme version of the fight. It's just like the fight is harder. And I know it's not really fair to expect an extreme fight, every extreme fight, to be as different from its normal fight as Jania, right? Because, we only have 3 devs. 1 dev for coding mechanics and stuff. But I just can't get past that. Like, Suki, there's nothing different about Suki. There's very little different about Darkon. I don't really enjoy that. But again, it's still, it's still Swan Song, right? So in a vacuum, I would just put it in like B+ or something. Tainted Time. No one likes windshields, right? So this just goes in like D. It introduced windshields. I don't really think the fight is particularly interesting. Okay, it doesn't actually go in D. It goes in like the bottom C, but I don't really like it. Teacher and student. So I think teacher and student had a really big opportunity in being like the first ever fight where enemy mana actually matters, but it doesn't, and that just sucks. But I like the fight itself. I mean, I think Warlock and Nitro both are pretty interesting fights. I think as a duo it works well. I just think it could have been a lot more. And also, I kind of hate all the Change of Heart fights because none of them have unique backgrounds. Same with Tenets. I really like backgrounds. I like having something to look at. So that brings it down, but I would probably just put it in B. I think it's okay. It's solid. I don't remember what Tibi does, kind of at all. I do like his design though. Oh right, he has the wish stuff. So, again, this is like, I think another case of interesting ideas, but poor execution because he's not threatening. So we'll put him next to all those other ones. So C tier is fine. We'll put him next to Cass. All right, Triple Trouble. Kind of sucks. I mean, I guess the only thing redeeming about Triple Trouble is like they have cool models, especially for the time. It's like the first time we ever saw these models in DragonFable. I know they're like from Adventure Quest, but at the time, I was like, oh, like why can't all the dragons look like this? Like these are cool. Back in 2018 when I started. But cool. I think enemy cooldowns is like really cringe, especially the way that like these cooldowns work, and like they have a 50% chance to like reduce, or like I don't know. It's not good. D tier. Tax is a huge stat checker, if I'm not mistaken. It doesn't really have attacks. It's just like, it's just stats, and then it's just carried by this, and it's carried by this, and like just effects. There's nothing really mechanically going on. So I would honestly like put it in D, especially because there's no reason to do it. Like somewhere over here, I don't know. I don't think it's interesting in any way. It's like a long fight that punishes you for taking a long time. So not good. Undead Duo, also not really good. I mentioned this with Life and Death, but I'm really not a fan of Crawler in particular because of this thing, which is a pretty huge for when you start this. If it's like your first or second challenge, like this is a pretty huge damage swing. But again, it's a really early fight. Where is it? Yeah, it's like the fourth fight, right? So I can cut it some slack for that. So I won't put it in D, but I think C is pretty fair. Okay, UE, another modernish fight. So UE is... I know people like this fight, but personally, I think it's kind of poorly designed because, like, this is low-key one of the most RNG fights in the entire game. I know most classes can kind of just ignore that, but I don't think that's a good design. Like, Sec Duat Phase 3 is entirely RNG. Noxus, his form, I don't know what to call them, phase? Rotation swaps, I guess? His rotation swaps also random. It's like, oh, if, I can have a strat, but if I get endurance, I lose, or if I get Sekduat's dot on this turn, I lose, or like, I don't really like it because of that. I give it points for kind of, Sekduat does very clearly like teach you like, oh, when I do this attack, I will target these two I will target these two spots. You should remember that for phase 3, like that kind of stuff. But I don't know. I don't think, I just don't like it that much. I guess visually I think it's fine. And there is some interesting stuff. I think Noxus, what's it called? His overconfidence and extreme overconfidence makes sense. It fits into what we understand from his character in book 1. But I just have a hard time putting it anywhere above C, honestly. So yeah, somewhere around here. Unrev and Xrev are hard. So I think Unrev is also kind of intended to be like sort of an introductory-ish fight. It's early. It's a solo. I don't know. Actually, it's been a long time since I did Unrev, I guess, but I think like the dreams versus nightmares theme is also pretty good. And then the phase change stuff. I would probably put it in like B or B+. Probably just B. I don't think I like it enough to put it above B. Xrev. I think Xrev kind of gets some points for like... Actually, does it get points though? No, I think... Okay, Xrev is another case of like... Unraveler harder. Like it's not... It doesn't introduce anything new, it's just bigger numbers. So for that reason, I would put Xrev in like C+. Definitely below Pandora. I think Pandora's a lot better. I don't know, somewhere like here. Alright, Weight of Life. Weight of Life, I think most people would agree, is not fun. But I'll say some positive things first. So, I think Corruption and Decay, I think the theme of the Adjudicator overall is actually really cool. The scales, Corruption versus Decay, the imbalance, and the way it interacts with those mechanics. However, I think I would like to see them actually manifest itself in its rotation as an attack. I think the design is really cool, it's very striking, it's very interesting. I think it's a really, really clever reuse of the Shadow Jodan's assets. Maybe the most, like the best reuse of assets in the Yin, as far as I can think of off the top of my head. I really like how it reused the assets. It's so, like, it fits so perfectly. It's such a unique, like, unless you think about it, you can't even tell, like, oh, like that's the Shadow Jodan. You won't think of that. It just looks unique. It looks like it's new, but actually it's not. And I think that's cool. Tree is annoying. It's kind of a stat checker. It doesn't really do anything. It just sits there and hits you, heals. Is annoying. Adjudicator is thematically cool. I think the themes kind of fall short in terms of the gameplay when they arise as the gameplay aspect, because it's not really fun, like not critting, you know, but it makes sense. But I don't know. I would put this in between B and C+. I think the tree... No, I'll stick it in B. Weird Duo was like actually awful. I don't understand what the thought process behind this is. It's like, let's make a fight that discourages the player from doing literally anything. So, yeah. I mean, it makes, I guess pairing them together, you're like, oh, you have a boss that gets mad if you buff or debuff it, and you have a boss that gets mad if you swap your gear, and if you use a pet. It'll be really funny if we put these two bosses together. Like, okay, but no, it's actually super annoying. Willowshire Burns, I like. I'm a fan of Willowshire Burns. I think I would place it within like B+ or something. I think Guardian Dragon feels maybe a little bit too fat, but I think the design is good. The background is nice. If the theme is good. What else? It's probably the best use of DDR in the inn. I kind of just wish that the boulders would disappear after Gorgok dies. Or whatever it is that people complain about. I forget. And I think that Guardian Dragon has a cool mechanic with its elemental instability stuff. Or elemental diffraction, I think it's called. You really don't like the art? Yeah, I can see that. I think the detailing is good. I can understand like not liking the whole thing though. Anyways, elemental diffraction is cool. One thing I really like is that they included bacon. Like the bacon nuke is like flavor, but it's something that you can actually use to your advantage for a lot of classes to push his rotation back by a turn. I know I did that. I know Ninja does that. I'm not sure if any other classes do, but I like that the option is there. And yeah, I think if there were like a hole in the ground there or something, it would help a lot. I don't know why they didn't just put like a hole in the ground or something, but whatever. Wolfwing I don't like. Wolfwing is, again, two types of chaos bosses. Cool idea, poor execution, stat checker. Wolfwing is a stat checker, and not particularly enjoyable one. I don't think he's as good of a stat checker as Kitsune. I will put him in C tier. Wrath is, again, Wrath is not fun. I think Wrath is a missed opportunity because I feel like she should get mad from, she should be reactive. She should get mad from the things you do to her, but she doesn't. She doesn't get mad if you crit her. She just heals. She doesn't get, you know? So I don't like Wrath because of that. The rotation is boring. The design is fine, but I don't... I definitely think that Wrath is arguably... or okay, I don't definitely think, but Wrath is arguably the weakest of the Corrupted 7. I don't know if I would put her in D tier. Okay, no, I would put her in D tier. I think she does kind of fall under the this boss is actively painful kind of level. All right, Yilmar. Yilmar kind of sucks. The only saving grace is that it is stunnable. And then also now that Ensod exists, or I guess if you don't have it, you could use like Glimmer or something. It's like much easier to skip, but like I think D tier is fine. Like here-ish, I don't know. And then Zeklim, I wouldn't put Zeklim in F. I think the boss itself is actually fine. I don't think the maze is that bad either. I definitely don't think it's like, oh, it's enjoyable. But I wouldn't put it in F tier. It's somewhere in between D and C for me. Probably. Ooh, I don't know. I think C just because I do kind of like Zeklim as a boss. And all right, yeah, I do agree. I keep Yilmar from F because if you encounter it, it's like, oh, this is sick, you know. But then you're like, oh, this fight sucks. So there we go. Let's. Okay, do I actually believe Dots is S tier? I do believe it's A+, and then I am biased towards it, so I do believe it's S tier, yeah. And I think that's good. I'm okay with this, I think. Let's look over this quickly. This is fine, this is fine. I think this is fine, honestly. This is all fine. Part of me wants to bring Akraloth up. Okay, no, I'm gonna bring Devoured Horizons down because I don't think the snake really does anything enough after it was nerfed a bunch. And yeah, this order is correct, I think. Even Chaos Slayers even might be A tier, but is it A tier? I think it is. I think I don't like it as much as most other people do. IE's higher, for sure. I think this is fine. Something like this, yeah. B+ is fine, B is fine. Yeah, I mean, I think this is a pretty accurate representation of how I feel. Yeah, I mean, the only, is there anything missing from this? Isn't, I guess the other open world bosses, right? But I don't know if they're not really as difficult as Yilmar, so. Yeah. Alright. That's that. I do agree, but for some reason, maybe it's just personal bias that is like unavoidable personal bias, but for some reason I have a hard time putting it in A+. Maybe just because it's just so boring to look at after a while. It's just a sea of purple and some splotches of like green. Individually, the designs are pretty good. Actually, I don't. No, that's not true. Dragon Lord's design is good, and Cleric's, but I feel like no one else's is particularly interesting. I feel like people tend to just put it high because it's cool, you know? But I have a hard time seeing the same coolness in it. Yeah, I feel like there's a good enough, like, kind of curve here. Maybe some of the D tiers could move up to C tier, but I don't feel like they can. Or maybe some of the C tiers can move up to like C+. I don't really remember taking time. I guess the most controversial one in C is probably Unending Empires. I feel like a lot of people like that fight. But yeah, I think I will call it there for today. That was pretty fun. Yeah, personally, I don't really like Eevee. No, but that was fun. I like that was. It's kind of enjoyable to like go through every fight and verbalize my thoughts on it. Especially because it's been a while since I did a lot of these. Like, I haven't done Unrav or XRav in literally years. Or like big and small. Pretty much anything like below B tier has a lot of fights that I haven't done in like years and years. But yeah, alright. I guess I'll just end the stream early then. So thanks for watching. I don't think I'll like upload this as a video because it's 3 hours long, but this was fun. See you.